Welcome to Crime Nally. Let's take a look at some of the true crime documentaries about the dark side of the American dream. The popularity of true crime documentaries has increased recently, giving audiences a look at the less desirable aspects of the American dream. With its power to shock and enthrall viewers with genuine stories of murder, deceit, and betrayal, true crime is alluring. These documentaries give victims and their families a forum to share their experiences while bringing to light the often overlooked realities of the criminal justice system. However, issues with exploitation and glamorize a tie-in of harm have been brought up by the enormous popularity of true crime media. Is this the information you are really interested in? Then don't forget to subscribe for notifications in any newly uploaded video, and be till the end of the video. Athlete, directed by Bonnie Cohen and John Schenk. The 2020 American documentary film Athlete. The documentary follows a group of investigative reporters from the Indianapolis Star when they broke the story of Dr. Larry Nassar abusing young female gymnasts and the charges that followed, exposing USA Gymnastics USAG and its then CEO Steve Penny. Netflix made it available on June 24, 2020. Rachel Denhollander, a former gymnast, was the first woman to come out and expose sexual misconduct committed by Larry Nassar, a doctor for USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University. She reported Nassar's attack on her as a 15-year-old gymnast to MSU's police department in August 2016 and filed a Title IX complaint with the university. Over 260 female athletes would eventually come forward with their own accounts of Nassar's abuse as a result of her stories, which is currently the focus of the Netflix documentary Athlete. Denhollander and others in the gymnastics community believe that despite Nassar's imprisonment, much more needs to be done to address allegations of systemic emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Truth and Lies. Jonestown, Paradise Lost, created by Monica Della Rosa and David Sloan. This documentary describes the largest mass murder and suicide in modern times. On the People's Temple Church's hidden jungle site outside of Jonestown, Guyana, over 900 people, many of them Americans, perished in 1978 after swallowing a deadly cyanide-laced beverage under Jim Jones's delusional command. From the socially integrated church's early days in Indianapolis to its flight from San Francisco to Guyana to avoid greater media curiosity and inquiries, the special chronicles the history of the colorful leader. The documentary depicts a cult where hard physical labor, cruelty, and malnutrition were commonplace, using rarely seen the raw film, audio tapes, and recently declassified FBI records. After U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown out of concern for the safety of Jones adherents, he commanded the killing. Cocaine Cowboys, directed by Billy Corben. The 2006 documentary Cocaine Cowboys was directed by Billy Corben and produced by him and Alfred Spellman through their Miami-based Ricona production company. The movie focuses on the ascent of drug dealer John Roberts, who was referred to by the authorities as the Medellin cartel's American representative. The movie details his involvement in the Miami drug war and the subsequent crime wave that engulfed Miami, Florida, in the 1970s and 1980s. In order to provide viewers with a first-hand account of the Miami drug battle, Cocaine Cowboys creators conducted interviews with law enforcement officials, journalists, lawyers, former criminals, and gang members. Miami used to be a sleepy town with, as someone once said, a lot of old people sitting around in beach chairs waiting to die. When the world's largest cocaine smuggling organization, the Medellin Cartel of Colombia, learned about the location, more and more Americans developed a drug habit, and Miami's population soared. These included the large sums of money deposited in neighborhood banks and the increase in murders from 104 in 1976 to 621 in 1981. This narrative is told in Cocaine Cowboys with a sleazy attitude. Three persons who were there narrate most of the story. Jorge Riviayala is currently imprisoned for murder. John Roberts claims to have overseen the transportation of more than $2 billion worth of cocaine from Colombia. and pilot Mickey Mende claims to have personally flown in about 10 tons. All of these men are skilled storytellers, but ones who always have their own interests in mind. While it's obvious that hearing all these war stories gave the filmmakers a contact high, most people will discover that a little of this goes a long way. Rest in Power, the Trayvon Martin story, created by Jenner First and Julia Willoughby Nasson. This American documentary television series called Rest in Power. The Trayvon Martin story debuted on Paramount Network on July 30th, 2018. The 6-episode series analyzes the racial animosity that followed Trayvon Martin's murder and documents its aftermath in the United States. Sabrina Fulton, Tracy Martin, Jays, Chachi Sr., Michael Gasparo, Jenner First, Julia Willoughby Nasson, and Nick Sando are the series' executive producers. The series was also directed by First and Nasson. Rest in Power. The Trayvon Martin story, a powerful, significant 6-part documentary that offers new insight into the 2012 assassination of the unarmed boy by 28-year-old vigilante George Zimmerman, explores social justice, personal sorrow, structural racism, and societal reckoning. The documentary series explains why this young black man's murder, which frequently goes unreported in the media, generated headlines, ignited protests, and compelled a national crisis. The documentary Rest in Power goes into great detail about the murder of the 17-year-old, the police investigation, the criminal trial, as well as the acquittal. But Rest in Power is a thorough, dramatic, and brutally honest look at America since that terrible shooting because of the way directors Jenner First, as well as Julia Willoughby Nasson, link up fresh and old aspects of the case with its widespread impact. Martin's murder and Zimmerman's conviction sparked social justice movements like Black Lives Matter, inspired supporters of the alt-right to fight for white nationalism, and ultimately affected the 2016 presidential election. Fire, the Greatest Party That Never Happened, directed by Chris Smith, the 2019 American documentary film called Fire. The Greatest Party That Never Happened is about Billy McFarland and his failed 2017 Fire Festival. On January 18, 2019, Chris Smith, Danny Gabay, and Mick Pajitsky, who also served as producers, published it on Netflix. Chris Smith describes how what was initially billed as Coachella in the Caribbean devolved into such mayhem that reminded attendees of a scene from a horror movie. This documentary, which debuted simultaneously in theaters and on Netflix, as well as a Hulu documentary on the exact same subject, were both released in the same week because the extent of the damage of 2017's Fire Festival was so captivating. The Innocence Files, created by Roger Ross Williams, Liz Garbus, and Alex Gibney, the 2020 American real crime documentary series called The Innocence Files explores unjust convictions and how they can impact the lives of those involved. The Innocence Project, which is dedicated to acquitting people who it believes were unfairly convicted, is the inspiration for the television show. The Innocence Files expertly explores the process by which innocent individuals are imprisoned and details the enormous effort required to have those unjust convictions overturned. There are many heartbreaking television shows about underprivileged people who are mistreated by the system, but this stirring, profound series stands out. The Innocence Files skillfully examines class, crime, and the American justice system. It is directed by renowned documentary filmmakers Alex Gibney, Roger Ross Williams, and Liz Garbus. The 9-part series, which follows numerous people who were mistakenly convicted over 3 distinct plot arcs, draws inspiration from Innocence Project cases. The filmmakers examine frequent flaws in the system, such as the use of phony forensic evidence and the veracity of eyewitness statements, and they examine the psychological and legal repercussions for everyone involved. Were you able to gather some interesting information related to some of the true crime documentaries and the dark side of the American dream with this video? Let's meet again. Thanks for being to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you think about this video below in the comment section.